He said he wasn't ready for a relationship, but I learned the truth months later and it broke me. Okay, so I never thought I'd actually post something like this. I'm one of those people who usually scrolls through Reddit with coffee in hand thinking, wow, people really share their whole lives here, and then goes back to lurking. But lately, this whole thing has been sitting in my chest like a weight I can't shake off, and I guess I just need to get it out somewhere. If anyone actually reads this, thank you. So, last year, I met someone. And before you roll your eyes, I know everyone's got a story that starts that way. But it's the kind that started so casually and ended up feeling like a small earthquake in my life. It was at a friend's birthday dinner. You know, the kind. Too many people crammed into a small apartment, music too loud for conversation, but somehow everyone shouting over it anyway. I was honestly not in the mood to be there. My best friend dragged me because I'd just gone through a breakup and had spent 2 months living in sweatpants, watching reruns of New Girl like it was a form of therapy. He was sitting at the far end of the table, next to the birthday girl's boyfriend. I didn't notice him at first because I was too busy trying not to spill wine on myself, but later I caught him laughing at something stupid someone said, and it was just the kind of laugh that makes you look over. Warm, full, completely unguarded. It wasn't the kind of laugh people do to sound polite, it was real. At some point, he passed me the salad bowl and made a joke about how no one was touching it because it was clearly decorative. It was dumb, but it made me laugh. That tiny interaction somehow shifted the whole night for me. I remember catching his eye a few times after that, not in a weird, creepy way, just those little glances that happen when you're both aware of each other in a room full of noise. Anyway, the night ended, people started leaving, and I didn't think much more of it. Then, 2 days later, I get a message on Instagram. Hey, not to be weird, but I didn't get a chance to actually talk to you the other night and kind of regretted it. Cue the butterflies. We started messaging back and forth. It wasn't forced or awkward. He was funny, easy to talk to, and had that kind of humor that didn't rely on sarcasm or trying too hard. He'd ask about my day and actually listen to the answer. He remembered little things like when I mentioned my coffee order or that I hated cilantro with a passion. Our first date was a walk in the park near my apartment. He showed up with 2 coffees, mine exactly how I liked it, and said, just trying to earn points early. It was cheesy, but it worked. We walked for hours talking about everything and nothing. It felt easy, comfortable, and honestly, I wasn't used to that. My last relationship had been heavy. Lots of fighting, lots of second-guessing myself. So when this guy came along with calm energy and kindness, it felt like exhaling after holding my breath for too long. The next few months were kind of a dream. We had little rituals, Friday night takeout and bad movies, Sunday morning walks where we'd get bagels and sit by the river. He'd send me songs he thought I'd like or random memes at 2 a.m. with, "This reminded me of you." It was always a raccoon doing something chaotic. He was thoughtful in small ways, which somehow meant more than grand gestures. Once I mentioned offhand that my apartment got cold because the window didn't seal right. The next time he came over, he brought one of those draft stoppers and helped me install it. Like, who even does that anymore? So, yeah, I fell for him. Slowly, but surely. Then, around the 3-month mark, something started to feel off. Not dramatically, at first, just subtle things. He started replying to texts slower. Canceled plans once or twice because of work deadlines. When we hung out, he'd seem distracted. Still kind, still there, but not fully present. Like part of his mind was somewhere else. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself I was just being paranoid because of past trauma. But then the space between texts got longer. The hugs, shorter. The goodnight messages, less frequent. One night we were watching Netflix. I don't even remember what show it was. And he was sitting there scrolling on his phone while I pretended not to notice. My stomach was in knots. I tried to play it cool, but eventually I couldn't take it anymore. I paused the show and asked, "Hey, are we okay?" He looked up, blinked, and said, "Yeah, why?" "I don't know. I just feels like something's changed. You've been distant lately." He sighed, that long, tired sigh that feels like it's been sitting in someone's chest for a while. He put down his phone and said, I really like you. I do, but I don't think I'm ready for a relationship right now. I just stared at him. My brain went completely blank for a few seconds. Because what do you even say to that? He kept talking, explaining how he'd been in a bad place before we met, how things were moving faster than he expected, how he needed to figure himself out. He said he didn't want to hurt me by leading me on, that it wasn't fair to me. It sounded mature, respectful, even. But all I could think was, then what the hell have we been doing for the past 3 months? I remember nodding, trying to seem understanding. I even said, I get it. Thank you for being honest. But inside, it felt like the air had been punched out of me. He left that night, and I sat on my couch in silence. I didn't cry immediately. It was that weird, numb shock where you just sit there staring at nothing. Then the silence hit me, and yeah, I cried. The ugly kind where you have to stuff your face into a pillow so your neighbors don't hear. We texted a few times after that, but it was awkward. Like two people trying to pretend they didn't just emotionally implode on each other. Eventually, I stopped responding. For a few months, I tried to move on. I went to the gym again, met up with friends, even downloaded a dating app, which lasted all of 5 minutes. I told myself I was fine, that he just wasn't in the right place. And then, the universe, with its dark sense of humor, decided to kick me while I was down. I was scrolling through Instagram one morning, half asleep, and I saw it. A photo of him, smiling, with his arm around a girl. The caption said, "Lucky to call this one mine." I just froze. You know that feeling where your heart drops into your stomach? That, times 100, because it had only been, 3 months since he said he wasn't ready for a relationship? I wanted to believe maybe it was casual, maybe it was new, maybe it didn't mean anything. But come on, the caption, the picture, the way he looked at her, that wasn't casual, that was relationship energy. And that's when the realization hit. He was ready, just not with me. That stung more than I can describe, because suddenly all his words from that night felt hollow. Every "I just need time" and "it's not you, it's me," all of it twisted into this echo of rejection that felt deeply personal. I didn't reach out, I didn't comment, I didn't even block him, though I probably should have. I just sat there, staring at that post, trying to process how someone could go from "I'm not ready" to "I'm in love" that fast. For weeks after, I went through this emotional loop. Anger, sadness, self-doubt, repeat. I kept thinking, was I just a placeholder? Practice for the next person? I'd replay conversations in my head, analyzing every detail, wondering what I missed. The way he'd zone out sometimes, the sudden busy streaks, the nights he'd cancel plans last minute. In hindsight, the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. But then, and this took time, I started to understand something. It wasn't that he was lying when he said he wasn't ready. He probably meant it, just not about relationships in general. He wasn't ready with me. And that realization, as brutal as it was, brought me some peace. Because sometimes it's not about your worth or what you did wrong. It's about compatibility, timing, chemistry, all those intangible things we can't control. A few months later, I ran into him again, because the universe apparently loves irony. It was at another mutual friend's get-together. I didn't even know he'd be there. He walked in with her, the new girlfriend, and I swear, for a second, I forgot how to breathe. She was lovely, honestly. Sweet smile, confident energy, totally different from me. And surprisingly, I didn't hate her. How could I? She didn't do anything wrong. She just met him at the right time. We locked eyes briefly across the room. He smiled, that same warm smile I remembered, and gave a small wave. I nodded back. Later in the night, while she was talking to someone else, he came over and said, "Hey, how've you been?" I just said, "I've been good. You?" He nodded. "Yeah, things are good. I'm glad you're doing okay." It was polite, short, nothing dramatic. But before he walked away, he paused and said quietly, "You look really happy. I'm glad." And weirdly, I believed him. When I got home that night, I didn't spiral. I didn't cry. I just sat there and thought about how people come into your life, leave, and somehow the world doesn't end. It just shifts a little. I realized something else too. Closure doesn't come from the other person. It comes from you deciding you don't need their version of the story to feel okay anymore. I don't regret meeting him. I don't even regret falling for him, because he reminded me that I can still feel something real. And he taught me that when someone says they're not ready, you don't try to convince them otherwise. You believe them and walk away. Now, when I date, I don't chase clarity. I don't try to decode mixed signals. If someone's energy feels off, I trust that. I don't take silence as confusion. I take it as an answer. And honestly, that's been freeing. Sometimes I still think about him, not with longing, but with that weird nostalgia for a time that felt simple before it fell apart. He was part of my story, but not the whole thing. I used to think love meant holding on until it worked. Now I know sometimes love means letting go when it doesn't. So yeah, maybe he wasn't ready for me, but I was ready for me. And that's what mattered in the end.